for this problem, you have to find out how many cups of water go into cups of milk, because it says 1/3 cup of water for every 1 cup of milk. So, and the question says, how many cups of water needs per milk? So this means you have to find how many is in 1 milk. And the easy way to do this, you can do times 4, because 1/4 times 4 gives you 1. Then you gotta do 1/3 times 4, which gives you 4/3. And you simplify it to 1 and 1/3.
Alright, so for this problem, it says that Mr. Palmisano gave his class 15 minutes to read. In that time, Ashley read 6.5 pages. So that means we're going to have 6.5 pages of 15 minutes. So it's going to be minutes, and it's going to be pages. So pages. He gave us already that in 15 minutes, Ashley could read 6.5 pages. Now, he said we have to read it into an hour to see how much Ashley reads in an hour. So 15 minutes, to get to an hour, you have to get to 60 minutes. And 15 times 4 equals 60. Now 15 times 4 will be like this. Five times 4 will equal 20. We hold the top with 2 in the top. And then you multiply 4 times 1, which is 4, and then add 2, which is 6. And that's your answer. There. Now the same thing you have to do, because it's multiplication. Whatever you do to the top, you do to the bottom. So times 4. 6 times 4 will equal 24. And then 1/2 times 4 will equal 4 halves, because if you multiply this, it'll be 4, which is this.
And then you have 1 on the bottom, so 2 times 1 will give you 2.
Yeah. So your answer is 24 and 4/2, or 26 as a whole.
Now this, you have to divide the numerator by the denominator. The denominator by the numerator to give you your decimal form. So now we are going to divide 9 and 5. 9 can't go into 5, so you put a decimal point and add a 0. So 9 go into 50 5 times, because 9 times 5 equals 45. And that's the closest, because if you do 9 times 6, you get 54, and it's over 50. So now you do 5 times 9, which gives you 45. And you subtract, you have 5 left over. As you can see, if we do it again, you have the same thing. So now you can put your answer as 0.5 with a dash on top. That means that it will continue on forever and ever. Your secret word is
poop emoji.
You like my picture? So now we have to find an equation for $1.04 for 4 apples. And then the equation you use is x for how many apples and y for the cost. First, we have to figure out the unit rate. So you have to figure out how much it would cost for an apple. So now we have to divide 104 by 4. Don't forget about the decimal. The decimal just move up on the line. So 4 cannot go into 1, so you can put a 0 or nothing. 4 can go into 10 2 times, because 2 times 4 is 8. And 8 minus 10 is 2. and you bring down the 4. So now you have 24. And 4 going to 24 6 times, because 6 times 6 times 4 is 24. And then when you subtract it, you have 0 left over. So now we know. We know that we have. Now we know for one apple, is equal to 0.26 or 2600 cents. So for the equation, you see number of apple is x. So we do x. Well, you don't want to mix up the fraction, put x times 0.26, because now it just look like x and x. So what you can do is the high school way, where you do 0.26, then you put the letter, which is x, and then you put equals y. This should be your equation. 2600 x equals y, but this means 26 times x, which equals y.
So now for this problem, it says we have to use this equation to find how many it costs for 6 apples. So now we have to multiply 0.26 times 6 to find how much it costs for 6 apples. I'll do it here because there's more space. So 6 times 6 will be 36, and we have the 3 on top. And then 6 times 2 will be 12, plus 3 will be 15, and we get 156. Remember, we have our decimal. So it's 2 spaces. So we do the same thing here, and we get 1.26 as our answer.
So now we know that 0.26 times 6 equals 1.56. Now to the next problem. Okay, so I know this problem might look tricky, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to split it up into 3 problems, or into 3 sections. So first, we are going to do negative 0.3500 minus 1/5, and then we're going to do the answer from that plus 1/6. Then after we do that, we're going to do plus negative half. So now let's get started. Negative 35 minus 1/5. It might be easier to do it in a fraction or decimals, but for this, we are going to do this in decimals. So instead of 1/5, we know in order to get to 10, you gotta do 1/5 times 2. Will give us 2 over 10. So now we have 2 over 10, which also equals 0.2. So now we're going to do negative 0.2. So now let's get started. When we do negative minus a negative, you're going up. So if you do negative 0.3500 minus 2/10, you will get negative 15/100. And we know this is because if we do it on a number line, we have negative 35, and then we have to subtract negative 2. It's just like we are adding. So we're going to do add 0.2. So now we have negative 0.1500. Okay, so now we know that negative 3500 minus negative 2/10 will give us negative 0.1500. So now we're going to do the plus 6/10. So you do negative 0.15 plus 1/6. We're going to do this on an open number line. So you start off negative 1/5. So you have to add 0.6. So first we are going to a friendly number, which is 0. So we're going to add 1.5. And let's figure out what's left of 6 if we took away 1.5 from 6. So 6 minus 1.5. So we're going to borrow a whole from the 6, which is now 10. And 10 minus 5 is 5. Add the decimal. And then add the decimal. Not yet. You don't add the decimal yet because it's not addition. So then you got to do 5 minus 1, which is 4. And since there are 2 decimals and 2 numbers, you have to do 2 place values. Now it's 1.5. So we have 0.4500 left over from 6. So we are just going to add the rest of it, which is plus 0.45. So you have 0.45. So now you have 0.45 as your answer for the first part, for the next part. So now we are going to do the last part. I'm going to pass it to Jasmine.
So for the last part of the problem, what we're going to do is change negative 1/2 into a decimal, because this is also a decimal. And how you do that, if you think of it
As a dollar.
Yeah. And half of a dollar will be 50 cents, so it's like 0.5. You just add the negative at the end. So 0.45 plus negative 0.5 will be done with the number line, so it will be easier. So we're going to start at the bottom with
Actually, you're going to start from the positive, since the first part of the problem is a positive. You will start from 0.45 hundredths. Now we are going to add a negative 0.5 tenths. And I'm passing it to Jasmine.
Great. So I guess she already did all of it. But we start with the number line, and we start as a positive 0.45, and then we're gonna subtract minus 0.45, which will be 0, positive. And then we have to subtract 0.05, because that's what's left, and we get negative 0.05 as our answer.
And then the only reason why this is work, because if you think back to the lesson of the house,
Of Carl's house.
So you have a house. It's at 0.45 feet. But then he adds 0.5 of the weight. So that means he's going down. So now the house is going down. So then once we get out of the positive, which is 0.45, you still have 0.05 to go down. So then once you get down 0.05, you are now in a negative. So this is why the answer is negative 0.5 hundredths. Subscribe to Mr. Stardy channel. I hope you like my butterfly with a face. And then have a good day.
That does not look like a butterfly.
But he's so happy. But he have a long nose. He's like Pinocchio.